Love about property investing is that it's an inefficient market. And what does that mean? It means that no two properties are identical. Unlike with shares, if you have 10,000 shares in a company, each share is absolutely identical and is 100% worth the same amount as what the other share is. And with property, no two properties are identical. So that leads opportunity for you to have a knowledge gap. You might know something about a market that other people don't, or you can buy an ugly property and convert that capital with a renovation into equity for yourself. And this session is all about renovation. It's how to take $1 and turn it into $2 or $3. We talk through the Oz property portfolio that we're building $150,000 of passive income and how we're using strategic renovations to build that. We have a secret weapon inside the portfolio. We've just purchased our 5th property and we are going to be utilizing some renovations on that as well. Stay tuned. Hey everyone, my name is Joe Tucker and together with Jef Miles, we created the Level Up Property course and the Oz Property Investor community, which has over 80,000 investors. It is the largest in Australia. And each week we interview top property experts. And this session is all about just Jef and I. We don't have a guest. It is us unpacking what we know about renovations throughout our wisdom of hundreds of property deals, not thousands just yet, hundreds of property purchases, making many equities in the renovation space. We share all our tips and trips and insights. So if you want anything like that, tune in, subscribe, do all of that kind of stuff. I am a little bit sick, so apologies for the audio is probably not going to be as good as it normally is. But let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
And we are live on Oz Property Investing. We're bringing the big names and we have the big fun. It is a big session, and Joe's challenged me to find a property that's not in the hotter sort of competitive market. So I did find that in the last 15, 20 minutes. So we're going to unveil some deals in some markets that have some potential and some that, yes, may still have some steam, but this is purely for illustrating renovating to build that 150K passive income portfolio. But before we even get there, there is a bit of a reveal. It's a surprise. We've gone shopping again, potentially. Not potentially, it is. We can say it now. We have. So, Joe, what's happening, man? How's cold Tassie?
Hello, mate. No, I just got back from Tasmania on a bit of a trip, and it sounds like I'm sick because I am. I've got massive cold or whatever the hell happened. And yeah, it's cold over there in Tasmania. Recommend for a visit, but don't stay too long and you'll get sick. So apologies for anyone that is listening to this. It is what it is. But no, I'm good, man. I'm good. We got a little bit of surprise. We have property number 5 in the Oz property portfolio. I was just looking at the numbers before that, so Jef doesn't know about this, but we are now at, if we paid down all the debt on the portfolio, which obviously we are deliberately getting highly leveraged to initially start this portfolio. But as of right now, if we had zero debt, it would be $101,000 of passive income after all expenses on the property portfolio, including council rates, water rates, even land tax. We would have $101,000. So we are building $150,000 of passive income. We started, June 2024, so just under a year ago, and we've already built the portfolio to which is a full-scale renovation. So what we want to do is go through and take you through what it was, what the property is now, what are the numbers, and then also chatting through property renovation and how to do it successfully. What are some of the challenges that we see people slipping up on, and how you can go out there and potentially make this for your own. But how are you, Jef?
Good. Fighting fit and excited. And I suppose as well, continuing on the 150K passive income portfolio, it's how renovations can help you and where the pros and cons in terms of building that out. Because yes, a lot of people say it can be profitable. Joe sort of says free. He wants $3. I'm sort of calling Joe and saying it's now probably $2.50 out of $1 spent. But I think there's that opportunity there to accelerate the portfolio. And we'll sort of talk to some of those tactics from the financing piece as well, like where you can come unstuck. So you have to sort of stay tuned because, and at the back end of this, there's going to be some floor plans that don't quite work for the conversion. We'll talk about the types of renovation as well. So absolutely. I don't know how I said, Joe, let's keep this to an hour and 15 just for Joe's voice, but I think it may be struggling with that. So, but if this may be a little bit visual, so jump on the YouTube. But if you're listening on the podcast, we'll describe it to you as well. So heaps of value on that. So Joe, before the intro, I was trimming your intro today, and I hope you've been reading your notes on this one. I mean, I prepare it for you at a time, but you are an accomplished property investor with that 15 years of sales, research, and negotiation, and it really does show as well. He's even able to negotiate the cold as well. So Joe's the MacGyver of the property industry, active property investor with your multi-million-dollar property individual portfolio. Oz Property is now saying it's 4.5. You said something like that. With a passion for that real estate, you helped create and co-found Oz Property Investors, now the largest online Facebook forum. And of course, Property Principles, over $100 million, maybe it's $150 million now, doing that. And from that, created the blueprints with us for Level Up Property. Joe, I think that was good, mate. Nice one.
Mate, that was a cracking intro. Thank you. Those of you that don't know Jef Miles, he is the other. Jef brings a lot of and compliance for some of the big four banks as well. So from a numbers and data perspective, and co-founder of the Level Up Property Corp. We teach people how to do exactly this and build these portfolios so you can get $150,000 of passive income eventually. How's that? Is that good?
Is it eventually, or was it 10 years, Joe? That was pretty good. Probably. So, Joe, on that note, let's talk to what and where do we buy? Like, tell us all about, spill the beans so that we kind of know about, and tell us about this deal, because there is a fifth property we purchased. So for those tuned in, we'll reveal the rough location. I'll reveal as much as Joe wants to. He's going to be guiding the location, but also what it is. I'm excited about it though. Let's go, Joe.
Yeah, I truth of it, and it is in Victoria again. So we have purchased another property. So we have 5 properties now, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to what our views are of where the long period of time. You would have known markets that have absolutely killed it, and then now, and it's not just talking to Victoria, it's where we are putting individual trusts, structured in a way that works for an accountant. So this is not financial advice. This is not even going to be the best bet for what you need to do. It's the Oz Property portfolio and what we're doing. This here is property number 4. Maybe I need to start labeling these things. Sorry, property number 5. But property number 2 that we purchased was a Townsville subdivision. So we paid $435,000 for that property just in June 2024. It's now revalued at $530,000. Now, with this subdivision deal, we are literally in the process of dealing with council to subdivide off this lot. I can't talk to too much of it. So we're in the process of doing it, so I haven't really got too much to update you with, except council are happy with the division. They said it's a straightforward shot. Great, let's do it. But once we do that subdivision, we would have hit our $150,000 passive income, debt-free cash flow of $150,000 once we do that subdivision. So I'm excited for that day. That means we will have 6 acquisitions. Well, we'll have 5 acquisitions and then converted this one into a cash cow to give us $150,000 in passive income,
I
which
just,
is
I
pretty
just want to, I
incredible.
just want to step in there because you said debt free. It's not going to be debt free, Joe. As
No,
much I'd love to say
it won't be.
150K debt free, but no,
Yes. So
not
then we
yet.
need to then we need to pay down the debt. So yeah, that's then the next challenge. So property number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we bought a block of units. That was $1,015,000. That's now valued at $1.2 million. To be honest, what we'll actually end up doing is probably either running the strata subdivision and making about $500,000 off this development. But right now we've got about $185,000 of value from that. So far from June, so in under 12 months, we've purchased 5 properties. We've got about $450,000 worth of value, which is $167,000 worth of usable equity at about a 70% LVR, loan to value ratio. So this development deal again is in Victoria. I need to do a proper, like, we've got the proper write up here for the 3-into-4 conversion, which is the renovation deal that we're talking about. I'll have to build out one of these later on. This session was not actually about that deal just yet. So I need to prepare it a little bit more, make it flashy. But essentially what it is we've paid fair market value for a normal 4-bed, 1-bath in this area. And we have a fully subdividable lot that has the ability to put a subdivide split, put another house on it. Or we can sell off the land, or we can sell off the front house, or we can sell off the back house, or we can sell off both, and do whatever we want to do. So awesome little deal there. Awesome little deal.
That's
What are
right.
your thoughts?
So it's this thing we talk about all the time. It's that frozen equity. You've got that there. You've got the opportunity, which then gives you the opportunity to, which is what this session is all about. It's about creating that 150K passive income portfolio. Yes, through renovating, but also through a bit sneaky. I didn't want to say renovating and developing, but there's that opportunity and that frozen equity that when you want to, you can pull the trigger and then either decrease the debt or improve the cash flow depending on which path and what's most feasible based on your time frame. So that's the path that we talk about all the time. So about the resources, about the borrowing capacity, your knowledge, your risk, all that jazz. And so I think it's a cracking deal. The one elephant in the room, and I did mention this to you a couple of minutes before we started live, it was the land tax. Like, you're killing with land tax and the negative, which is creating that. So what are we eventually going to diversify into other states, or is it just doubling down and being okay with having that land tax situation? Like, because everybody's singing that, probably.
Yeah, it's a fair enough statement, right? Land tax is a big one. The challenge that we have when you go out and buy multiple properties, like Victoria right now, their minimum threshold for coming into land tax is $50,000. So you're going to get stacked with land tax anyway. What we're also doing, another thing to mitigate the land tax situation, is purchasing these under different entities. So as you would have seen, the different structures are held in different entities. So we have Trust 1 that holds 2 Victorian properties, Trust 2 that holds a Victorian and a Melbourne property, and Trust 3 that has a block of units in it. So what that is doing is now not putting all 5 properties under one trust, which is then going to get a massive tax bill at the end of it. So instead, we're getting a little bit. But again, it's kind of like regional Queensland, right? If you go and buy regional Queensland right now, you've got a massive council rates and insurance, which is a tax in itself because you've got to pay that. I think I'm having some internet issues. I think I need to restart my computer and jump back in.
No, I think you're actually fine, Joe. Originally it was me, but wait, is it you? No, maybe it is because I was Joe's internet's bad. Okay, no wait.
Okay.
Joe, your connection is pretty bad. I don't know,
So what are we going to talk? What are we going to talk about? What are we diving into now?
So first up, Joe was partially me, but no. So I've got this session. So we're going to get to. Well, we've revealed.
Okay, so I'm going to jump out now, and I'll come back in 1 minute. So you just got to talk to the audience. Sorry, Dick.
No, that's all right.
Talk to the people.
I want to say
You got heaps to cover.
While Yeah, and I've always wanted this session. Come back, Joe. Man, don't come back too fast, man. I got heaps to talk about with the audience. So we'll see you soon. So what I wanted to say, whilst I have the mic, which I don't always get this, I think the next property we might be purchasing, we're going to be focusing on a higher yield, likely different state. I've been talking about regional New South Wales, but also so talking about renovation. So let us know if you have questions for myself. How much capital we started off with, that was one of them. Look, the capital there was around that sort of 300 to 400K in full transparency. I think we shared that a couple of times. So we shared that, yes, and that's why we were able to build the portfolio, buy those 5 properties in under 12 months. That's why we were able to do that. So that was one of the questions that popped up. I'm just reading, internet is better now. So he's just left, and he said the internet's fine. That's annoying, isn't it? But anyway, that's fine. So where we're going to go from here, I'm going to actually reveal what was your starting capital. So we did say that. So next up, then once we sort of get into this, the thing that I also wanted to say was can you buy somewhere else? My thoughts are, as I said, we're going to get somewhere else. So we're going to talk to the step-by-step of the renovation. It's interesting running this by myself. But what I wanted to say is the things that so we're going to cover off the things that you should be looking for when you're looking for a renovation deal, and those core things, and I'll just have to show off, and that's okay. The finance. So you have to absolutely make sure the finance is buttoned up, because particularly if you're doing a renovation deal, you need to understand, well, how much capital are you going to be putting into that deal for a start? As in, if it's going to cost, is it a basic renovation? So we'll talk to the types of renovations as well. But that's one of the core things. And then, do you have the knowledge as well and the team to execute that reno? Because if you don't have your boots on the ground, the team in place, unless you're handy yourself and you're going to fly out. So I want to know. Here he's back. Goodness me.
Back. I miss.
Yeah, apparently your internet ended up being fine just after you left. So that's fine. Wait, I was running through the whole session. It was a monologuous podcast. It was an interesting one. I was cracking through this session at a rate of knots. So where we're going to go, killing it solo, Jeff. Don't encourage me, Matty. But what I was saying is we're going to unpack. Well, what are the things you should be considering before unpacking a reno? Joe, I can talk to. I've already talked to some of those. What are the things you see? Because you've done probably dozens of renos now in your time for others and also your own. So what are the things you look at? Way more. Okay.
Way dozens. More than dozens.
That could be 45 though, like several dozens. So
can it?
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, several dozens.
Dozens okay. With an S on
man,
there.
We've done. I don't think we've done hundreds of renovations, but been up there. I think what it comes down to is doing it for a reason, doing it for a return on investment. What I see a lot of people doing is just making things, and this is a little saying that Todd Sloan coined from Pizza and Property: pretty isn't profit. And I see people they buy a house and then they want to prettify it and make it incredibly beautiful and get it to a standard at which that they would want to live into it and buy the most expensive stuff. And then they lose all of their profit and all of their value. So just because a property should be renovated doesn't mean you should be renovating it. You can easily.
Actually, I've got a couple of examples to show that as well.
Oh.
So stay tuned, and if you're watching it, I'll talk you through it because, I think, yeah. Sorry, go on, Joe. I saw you, but I just want to get in there.
Yeah, no. Well, maybe let's talk to the Oz property renovation that we're like literally doing right now. So, yeah, let's go. Okay, cool. So let's go through the property. So this is actually, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen because I had all the videos preloaded. What I want to do is show you all of what it was before. So what was perfect. It all loaded perfectly. Amazing. Incredible. So let's have a check. Let's look it out. So this is the 3 to 4 conversion that we are doing. So one of the things that you'll notice is every renovation project that we have done, it's converting it from a 3-bed to a 4-bed conversion. So what does that mean? So we're taking it from a 3-bedroom property into a 4-bedroom property. So why do we want to do this? Why do we buy this? Why do we buy this property in the first place? The reason why we bought this property was not actually to it was not actually to do a killer renovation and like get all of the value from the renovation. What we wanted to do was buy in this area because this is a very good growth located market that has very limited supply and very high demand. We wanted to own in this property. We wanted to own in this market. So these were the assumptions that we were going into this portfolio. So we wanted to buy this property for $530,000 and then get the end value to be $630,000. And we were looking to spend around $70,000 to make $100,000 of equity, but spending $70,000 to do that. So for us, the median value of this area was $590,000, and we purchased this at $530,000. So amazing that it's below that threshold. So what did this property look like? Let's have a little go through and see what it looked like. And one of the things that you'll notice is that it's still just like, it looks not that bad. Like this is not a knockdown rebuild type of property. So
it's not a gut reno, so to speak.
It's not a gut reno for sure. So can you see some opportunities? Anyone, what would you do with this deal?
I can't answer this. I want to answer, but and this area is there is opportunities in a lot of areas to sort of see, particularly where you start to see extra rooms is a bit of a clue. Maybe I'm just giving it away, but if you see that, what is that opportunity? Drop it in the comments. But Joe, before we kind of go into that, should we actually unpack the different types of renovations that people can do? Because I think for those new to renovation, because I sort of wanted to take people on the journey from the how you actually then the challenges with that, how you get to the 150K passive income, or how it accelerates your journey to that through renovating. And this is one of the quicker ways I'm seeing a lot of some people do it right now. So for me, there's two types of renovations. You've got the cosmetic reno, which and this is a type of cosmetic, but your cosmetic ugly duckling, or your renovators the light, maybe not so much, but your ugly duckling is where you're simply sort of doing the bathroom or the kitchen, you're doing the reno, or you're doing the paint, carpet, all that sort of jazz. And what that, to me, gives people the opportunity to do, it may increase the value and the rent in particular, because it's a more desirable property. But the challenge, and I found with this one, is is the valuation on the end, because just because you're making the bathroom prettier, you're making it, the valuation may not sort of stack up. So it's still retaining let's say you buy a 3x1 or a 4x2, whichever one you're doing. You're then sort of saying, okay, great. Now this property still remains the same characteristics. You're most likely to increase the rent. So that's that one. Do you want to cover off the room conversion, which I think is where there's potentially a lot more juice from hitting that 150K passive income portfolio, and we'll say why, and then we'll talk to a bit more about the reno process. That's where I wanted to take this.
The next one is adding a room. It is the easiest way to kind of do it, right? We've got a little cheat sheet that we are going to share towards the end of this, but at the top of the renovation pyramid, you can see impact score 10. What is it? Adding a bedroom or converting a living space with some walls. It has the lowest amount of budget, $6,000 on a $60,000 property, and it's got the highest impact. This is the best way to boost equity on a small budget. So this deal that we did, we could have just, if we were like trying to move fast and flip this deal, we wouldn't really need to do too much other than add the wall and a fresh paint. Not that we are into flipping or anything like that. We don't, it doesn't always stack up. But adding a wall will create the value through turning it from a 3-bed to a 4-bed. So your ideal opportunity is finding an area where there's a large disparity between a 2-bed to a 3-bed, or a 3-bed to a 4-bed, so that you can then convert that capital and get a better discount. Get a little better uplift on your renovation. So that's another version of renovations.
Yeah, and that sort of talks to the purpose behind the renovation as well, because If you're buying and we'll sort of talk to some of we're adding the room, it can work from a valuation perspective where you're actually literally just updating it on realestate.com, or I think it's CoreLogic. You jump in there, you update that. And then if you're doing a full valuation, yes, there may be a challenge with that. And that's one of the cons of doing that. If you're doing a desktop where it's based on the algorithm, yes, that is where there is some real opportunity. There's no guarantee it will always stack up. But yes, that's where you're essentially then sort of the bank, and that's where you start to also play the valuation game as well. Where that works really well, where you're keeping it, for example, is provided you have the borrowing capacity, that's where the frozen equity comes in. You start to say, okay, great, now I'm taking out up to the 80% that I'm allowed to or am able to on based on the valuation. And that's where your investment savvy broker comes in to say, okay, great, now you've got an extra deposit to go and buy that next property, to leapfrog, keep leapfrogging. If you're selling it, adding that bedroom, I don't think it adds a whole lot of value, because yes, you could argue because you're taking away from another part of the house. So you do need to factor that in. You may disagree, Joe, but I think for me, if you are looking to sell, probably the bigger value is doing the cosmetics of the bathroom or the kitchen, appealing to the emotional owner occupier who's then like, oh, wow, this kitchen's amazing. Move in ready. Yeah. I can picture everything there. Yeah. So it depends on the purpose of the renovation.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where a lot of people get a little unstuck as well when they dive headfirst into their renovation project. They think, oh, I have to make it so that an owner occupier is comfortable in this. Well, no, the only person that you need to appease, like what Jef was saying, is the valuer. So what does the valuer care about? The valuer cares about the structure and make of what that dwelling is. Now, Amit's asked a great question here. In the comments, and if anyone has any questions along the way, it is just Jef and I, so it's great to not have a guest because it means that we can kind of engage a little bit more with everyone. So throw in your questions and comments and stuff and we can chat to it. But he says, do you need any council approval to do a 3 and 4 conversion? And the question is, it depends on the council, and it depends on the rules and regulations of that council, and also what type of 3 to 4 conversion that you're doing. We're going to talk a lot about 3 to 4 conversions, I guess, in this podcast, because it's the quickest way to make the most amount of, like, it's the cheapest and the best way to make a lot of money very fast. We've got some examples here. Like, here's another example, right? This property here. Let's go through what the old photos were. So this property was purchased for $590,000 in January 2024. So $595,000. Am I jumping the gun too? I feel like this is the fun part. So
no, that's all right. I've got some fun stuff as well.
Okay. We've all got fun stuff. So what would you do to add the value to this property? And the answer is, believe it or not, add a room. So in the comments, where would you guys, I'm going to bring up the floor plan here. Where would you guys add the bedroom for this property? You can say living room, living and dining, foyer. Please don't say foyer. Yep. I imagine people are furiously typing it into the computer, but essentially...
This is an interesting one, though, Joe, because, like, you just have to make sure, because some of the requirements, it has to have a room to be called a bedroom, from my understanding, of course.
Very true.
So actually, that's what I always look at that and I say, and I just think, because living and dining, you're not really going to technically. But this is obviously obvious one. Well, living room.
That's such a great point, actually. So based on, now I should have done some research onto this, but I believe it needs to be, for building approval, it needs to be a minimum 2.5 by 2.5 meter square to be considered large enough to be considered a bedroom. It also needs ventilation in that case, and sunlight. So in that case, it needs to have a window. So if this door here wasn't, didn't let air in, then you wouldn't be able to do it. You also can't consider it a bedroom if it walks in on another bedroom. So if you decided to put a wall up here and turn this area into a bedroom, and you needed to access this bedroom to get into that bedroom, you can't call it a bedroom. It needs to be fully separated and sectioned off itself. It needs to have ventilation and natural sunlight to allow you to do that.
Yeah.
So
that's why for me,
Yeah.
the most obvious one's going to be the cutting off the corner of the only problem is you've got the covered patio there. So like, I suppose they just got their own little covered patio. But then, yeah,
Where's that
it's an
here?
interesting layout.
So what did we end up doing? Well, let's have a look. So these are they're the before photos.
Yep.
So this person did a $40,000 renovation. So can you see where the $40,000 was spent? It was spent on a new bathroom, right? So we'll go back to the floor plan to see where that opportunity was. And then I'll show you the bedroom here and how we got it. I don't think we actually show, I don't think there's a way. Yeah, okay, there you go. Boom. There's the bedroom there. So as you guys remember the floor plan, there was just an open space within here. There's no floor plan on here, is there?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Nah, that's a good.
All
I mean,
there was one wall here, and then a door, which then made this big enough. Now, this floor plan, I guess, wasn't accurate enough to give you, like, it wasn't like, we didn't need to. We thought we needed to fill this wall in, like based on the floor plan, and put the wall here, but it turns out you didn't need to. We then put the bathroom in there. So we took this from a 3-bed 1-bath to a 4-bed 2-bath. And the property got revalued at $790,000. So we bought it for $595. 1, 2, 3. New value $790,000. That was purchased 12 months ago. That is $195,000 worth of equity, or a 32% growth rate, which is compounded at 2.73% monthly growth rate by spending about $40,000 on it. That's
some of that
bananas.
Some of that would have been market driven growth, just to say,
definitely,
just to call it.
Definitely. But this market didn't have 30%. It didn't have 25% capital growth. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the power of doing these renovations, and nothing else changed. Nothing else changed in that property. We didn't paint it. We didn't put new flooring. Could we have upgraded the kitchen? Absolutely. Would I live in a place like that without the full renovated kitchen? Well, yeah, to be honest, I probably would. I'm not that precious, but you see something like that and you're like, no, I want to renovate. No, I want to renovate. No, I want to renovate. It's funny that, Amit, you're the person to say, hey, convert the garage to the 4th bedroom and add a carport. So that's a very good one.
And somebody said, I've seen garage being converted into a bedroom and carport added instead of. With those, because we've seen a couple of those examples, particularly in far north Queensland. You just have to be very careful in terms of, because some of those then start to require council approval. I don't know about all the other councils around, but you just need to be a little bit careful in terms of converting the garage, because if it's not council approved, then people try and sell a 4th bed, and then we've actually sort of seen deals fall over because of that. And then they just said, well, if one person sort of falls over, the next person's going to think exactly the same thing. As long as you're, unless you're assuming the buyer doesn't go and ask council, which, I mean, hopefully they do, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, they typically, so the reason why that you need to be careful on that is because, look, there's Elijah jumping in. Good work. Needs to be 2.4 meter high ceilings, and that's what garages don't always work. The other thing, Elijah, and everyone else that's listening, is the slab on the concrete floor of a garage is not as thick as the slab of a normal room, which then becomes a bit of a living situation issue, and you can get into a little bit of like building code trouble. You can't have a dwelling, like an area where it's not meant to be having to be habitable, but it is habitable. So that's why, if you can, try and get away with splitting it up so that you can have it under the room. Now, the thing that you would say is like, oh my gosh, you've taken it from a 3-bed 1-bath to a 4-bed 2-bath. Well, yes, we just made $200,000 for do that. But you know, I have a 4-bedroom 2-bathroom house, and I want 2 living rooms. Well, tough. Like, you have to sacrifice something, and you're sacrificing the livable space of an extra living room. So this is not the best strategy for absolutely every situation. And is it the best? Does it boost rent in this situation? Yes, it boosted the rent I can't remember, but it was like $50 or $80 a week, because it gives you that extra bedroom, but also that space is still there and is still usable, and people could just keep the door open. The other point as well is this is such a massive living area. Like, it's as such a massive space, it's still got this massive living area here and this massive living area here. So that's not such a concern.
Yeah.
We were just very lucky that this is such a large floor plan.
Yeah, and that's kind of where you really need to lean on your property managers and become their expert to say, okay, great. Like, what is the demographic of this area wanting? If there's families that have sort of 2 or 3 kids, maybe yes, that you're adding the extra bedroom, so that's great, but then you're chopping away some of the living area. So if there's that larger sort of 2 or 3, 4 kid families in the area, maybe then you just need to have to say, oh, look, I can convert it, but then I'm limiting my rental pool. So just those are things you need to factor in. So some of those areas, like a Port Kennedy, is an example of that. So which is why they built so many 4x2s in Port Kennedy. That's not the reason, but that's probably why there's a lot of families that have moved to that area naturally. Whereas you start to look at a bit further up, not saying families don't live in Waikiki, but as you go further up towards Perth in Rockingham, there's typically sort of a lot more, or a few more 3x1s or 3x2s. Sort of happen. Whereas Port Kennedy, it's rare to see those 3x2s. But yeah, anyway, that's just kind of that local knowledge that you really need to understand when you're doing these kind of, like, figure out who your market is. Joe, that's been a masterclass so far. So I think what are the things that hold people back in doing any sort of renovation that you've found anyway? Just to talk to some of the tricks for new players.
The biggest thing that holds people back is I'm not there. Like, doesn't that just scare the crap out of you? I'm really quite handy. I'm a handy man. I do all the little bits and pieces around the house, and I love it. I actually really enjoy the manual labor side of things. But I don't live in Victoria. I don't live in Perth. I don't live in South Australia. I don't live in Queensland. And I really want to do it. So that's one of the biggest things that I see holding people back when I deal with tradies all the time. The thing is like, no, I've got so much skill, I've got so much energy, and I can do the renovation. I think we were speaking about my neighbor who bought a property about a year and a half ago, and he's been renovating it for a bit. He finished it. They sold it. They lost money, not just from the sale, but also from a year and a half of them working their asses off during the week, and then flying and then driving down 2 hours, and then working in this place, taking a year and a half to do the reno. The one thing to mention is, so that's the biggest thing I see stopping a lot of people. I'm not in the area. So you've got to get access to good tradespeople. And do you know who knows good tradespeople? Your property manager. Do you know who else knows good tradespeople? The tradespeople that you talk with. So every time you have a chat with your property manager. Do you know any good plumbers, sparkies, tradies, handymen? Handymen know all the great guys and girls around the area. That's actually rolls in quite nicely to the Oz property renovation. And let's just talk to this. This was the goal overall, to get $100,000 equity gain out of it. What was actually needed? Well, let's just go through this second round of videos real quick, Jeff, because one of the things that we did need was so we didn't touch the kitchen. We needed to replace a glass sheeting in the kitchen. But we go into the bathroom. So it's a normal everyday property. One, actually, I'll talk to it soon. But here's the bathroom. We did a full scale bathroom. Yeah, the spaceship. We did a full scale bathroom renovation. And this is what it looked like. What happened is, once we were going to replace the spaceship. So we were going to do the spaceship and then keep it, because they did this renovation in the 90s or early thousands, and it worked out perfectly. Behind the spaceship was a massive crack that then led into the flooring as well. And then there was a whole heap of water damage. So what we did is we just fully renovated the bathroom. So this is what it looks like now, post renovation.
That's good.
Actually, before I even just going to stop sharing my screen, I'm going to bring up one more video. Is the walkthrough video of what I went through the property. Yeah, here. Okay. Yeah, I'll just, instead of me talking like when I'm sick, I'll give you a video of me talking when I'm not sick. Can you hear the audio?
Probably not.
Ready?
It doesn't play.
Mic
Oh, yeah.
check. Can you hear it? Okay, we're going to do this in one. Okay, let's go through. Can you hear that, Jeff?
It's going to lag. I can hear it. But...
So far, we bought this property for $530,000. This property is about 22 kilometres away from Melbourne CBD. Now, it is definitely what we would call an ugly duckling. So watch your step here. The thing is, this was a 3-bed, 2-bathroom property, and what we've done here is converted this room, and have a look at it, it's bloody massive. We changed this into a 4-bed, 2-bath property. So right now, was a 3-bed, is now a 4-bed, 2-bath property. Coming around here, you'll be able to see all of the renovation work that we're doing. We've got a nice little ensuite in here. If you want to check that sucker out, you can go down there. But the beauty of it is with that conversion, by changing it from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom property, that has given us an equity uplift of over $100,000. So we are still mid-renovation, and you can see that the wall was right there, so you would have been able to walk straight into there, straight into the dining room. But we also have the living space and also this extra space here that you've got. So the way it works value-wise, we're spending about $70,000 to $80,000 on this renovation, and we need to completely rip everything out in the bathroom. So it's definitely not cheap, but by doing this, we've already got the property revalued, but based on the quotes being completed and all of the work done, and it's been revalued at $645,000. So we've put $1 in, and it's given us $1.65 back. There you go. That's the walkthrough, guys.
Yeah. Before we do go to the ad, though, I just want to say this is potentially one of the pros of doing the conversion rather than sale. So assume you are using the equity in the revalue to purchase another property. I did sort of mention that's where you can start to leapfrog. Whereas if you were to put that property, that conversion onto the market, yes, you might sort of sell it for that 645, 650. At the same time, yeah, you might in that market you might sell at that because there's a little bit of market growth, but in a sort of steady as you go sort of market, you might sort of struggle to hit the low to just a touch above the low 600. So that is something to consider. Market price is what the market's going to pay, but at the same time, I think when you're taking away some of that, so you just need to be somewhat careful of that. But that's where if the purpose of renovation comes into it as well. So not having the CGT. At some stage, we might need to pay some CGT depending on what we're going to do, pay down the debt. But yeah, something to keep in mind. So
yeah, no, it was super interesting. Just up the road, like literally, I don't know, about 9 doors away, a 4-bed, 2-bath property sold in May for $720,000. We paid $530,000 for this property. Yeah, I want to dive in. How much does it cost to add the bedroom on average? About $5,000 to $6,000.
I like to add in a buffer.
No way, 10. 10 is okay. Add about add about $4,000 buffer. Five to $6,000 will do
Conservative
it.
Charlie over here.
You can do it cheap.
But
yeah.
So after this, we'll talk to more about the portfolio structuring, and then we'll go into some examples. Because I think I will show some properties where we feel it does work, and some in different markets as well. So stay tuned, people, for that.
Oh, Jeff, I wish there was 3 investing books that covered everything property.
Oh, Joe, there is. Steve has 3 books now.
That I do, guys. I've got 3 books now. You probably don't even have to follow this group anymore. Just kidding. You want to keep seeing and hearing from me, of course, so stay involved. But in all seriousness, if you want to get the full picture of investing, residential, commercial, and development, these 3 books have you covered for the fundamentals. For OzProp members, here's the best part. I'm giving these books to you for free. Just cover the postage and I'll send them right to your door. Go to policyproperty.com or click the link below and get your copies today. You can also get all my spreadsheets, checklists, and resources free on my website. Happy reading, gang.
Happy reading.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Okay. We are back. Interesting. I feel like I just want to show the renovation the final renovation of the kitchen so that everyone can see of the bathroom, so that everyone's got that. Just before I do, yes.
I just ordered
Cool. So this is it. This is it. Is it sharing, Jeff? That's it.
It is. Yeah.
So this bathroom looks pretty expensive. So how much do you guys think it cost to rip out this, do wall-to-wall, wall-to-ceiling tiles? Nice little bathtub here.
I'd say 15. Oh, I mean, I probably know the answer. So yeah. What is the awning single would cost for that to get done? Drop it.
Now that's oh shit. That's one of the challenges that we have with renovations right now, actually, is the difference in costs. So speaking of difference of costs, these were the renovation quotes that we were given for this exact property to do all of this work that we needed to do. So what was needed? Now, before we talk about the quotes, actually, what was needed on this property? The biggest one was re-stumping. So we went through the property and we felt that it was a little, like, we got our inspector through, we thought it was a little uneven. So we then did a pest and building. The pest and building man said, yeah, there's something going on with the stumping. So before the pest and building was complete, before the pest and building clause expires, which was 14 days, we then at the same time organized a stumper to go out there. And Mr. Stumper said, yeah, mate, it's done. You need to replace these things. You need to replace all the stumps, which is what we did, but that cost $16,000. So the problem with these type of things, stumping, cleaning the gutter, well, not gutter cleaning, but replacing gutters, like what are the things that don't add any new screen door? So that was $8,000 to replace the screen door. Actually, no, 4,000. Sorry, so I don't want to exaggerate. But we needed these type of things. But what you want to do when you're looking at a renovation project, you want to look at the stuff that's going to actually add value to the property. So we are making this property a long-term hold. We didn't need to fully re-stump the place. We could have just fixed a few of the broken stumps. But as we're holding it long-term, we just thought, hey, we'll get it done. But yes, $16,000 for that. So that didn't add any. So the goal is to add more in perceived value than actual cost. So more in perceived value than actual cost. And that just essentially means don't spend more than what it's going to make it look. Add more value. What else did it need? Paint throughout, ceiling repair. So what does that mean? This.
Yeah,
this is the bathroom getting taken out. This is the ceiling getting redone. All of this needed to get renovated. We had to take it all out. We also, for the keen-eyed viewer, we had the fire heater in the bedroom. That you can't have a heat. You can't have it like a stove, a fire heater in the bedroom. So we removed that, which then meant that we needed to cut some ceiling out to then repatch it, but it just so happened that ceiling was screwed as well. So what we did is we found that stumping issue and renegotiated $10,000 off the purchase price. We said, hey, Mr. Agent, we're not going ahead with this deal because we need to spend $16,000 in stumping. Here's the quote, $16,000. However, we are willing to come to the table, and instead of being 16, we'll take a discount of 10, and they agreed to that, making it $530,000 instead of $540,000. But yeah, so in terms of quotes, we were factoring in about $70,000 to $80,000, but quote one came in at $98,000. Quote two came in at $69,000. And quote three came in at $55,000. All very similar services and what was needed. So we ended up going with this guy, and so far it's been fantastic. Oh, was I not sharing my screen that entire time?
Oh no, man, this is yeah. So what? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anyway, thought I was sharing my screen. Sorry, guys, if you've just been looking at me like clicking around. But yeah, so that's it. $55,000, 3 quotes. We ended up going for the cheapest one. So that's another part of the renovation journey that you need to go through. You need to get multiple quotes. So quote 1 here, $98,000. Quote 2, $69,000, and quote 3, $55,000. Yep. Cool. You're good, Jeff?
Yeah.
Broken you?
I want to talk about, well, how does actually helps people to get to 150K? Because yes, anyway,
Okay.
that's fine. Because so I suppose yes, this is the way that you can build that portfolio to get those sort of next deals. And I suppose the challenges are, yes, as we sort of talked about there, the costs and the timeframes may not always stack up, nor the valuations as well. So you can't guarantee that that's going to get you into the next property deal. But those are the purpose. That's the reason why you're doing these renovations. And then that way, rather than selling, and it comes back to the goal as well. And is this in your wheelhouse? Do you have the buffer and the finance to be able to do it as well? So I wanted to share. There is some that, let's see. There are some that I looked at earlier on today.
Actually, that's a really good point that you just raised there. Like, who doesn't need to do a renovation, and why would you not do a renovation? So we've got 3 components that we need to continue our property investing journey. It's cash and equity, it's borrowing ability and serviceability, and then it's cash flow. So if your next acquisition doesn't need a leg up in any way, and you've got enough cash, equity, borrowing ability, but also you have a little bit of time on your hands, then a renovation, it will be worthwhile because it's going to help you boost your cash and equity. So as you look at that, that property was valued, while you're bringing up your screen, Jeff, was valued at $645,000. So we wanted 100K. We ended up getting 125K. 115K in equity uplift, and a property just around the road sold for 720. So we're not far off getting to a much better number in the next 6 months. We'll start to see more of those sales, and that's because we bought the right property in the right time at the right market. But what was I saying? Doing these renovations is to get equity so that you can continue buying property. So if you're just starting out and this is your first purchase and you have a little bit more time and you have a little bit, you can afford the cash to chuck into a renovation, then I would say it would be worthwhile, because you're going to be putting in $30,000 and then you're going to boost the equity to grow at $50,000 or $80,000 or $60,000. You can then use that portion of that equity to then go buy your next property. So it speeds things up. However, buying a set and forget in a market that's moving and a market that's growing is absolutely going to be fine as well, because, say you buy it at $500,000, like our Townsville deal, right? We bought that under 12 months ago. We paid $435,000 June. So just under 11 months later, it's valued at 530. So we've made $95,000 in under a year. So you don't always need to do renovations. Buy in a good market.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would. If, for example, I've bought and seen properties in where I bought a property at 570 that was then at the 800 mark in that 12 to 18 months. No renovations done. Eventually, we did do some renos on it, but that was not so. Yes, that was a crazy COVID market, but at the same time, I see people trying to force deals in areas that they shouldn't be buying in. So I would focus first and foremost on the area, and then if your strategy is to because otherwise you're going to literally you're going to go an inch deep and do that sort of dig 10 holes rather than going a mile deep and really becoming the expert in the area and nailing the suburb. The suburb's going to do most of the heavy lifting, and then if you need to tack on that renovation, the value add, fantastic. That's kind of the approach that, because otherwise I think you spin your wheels and your pre-approval may expire and you just keep on delaying because you're looking for that perfect unicorn deal in the perfect market. So I would say nail the market, nail the 3 to 5 suburbs, and then find the deal if you want to do a renovation, subdivision, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, spot on. I think that
somebody asked, did this renovation increase the rent substantially? I think it was about 40 or 50 bucks. So maybe was it 40, 50? Roughly?
Yeah, I think, well, the rent that it was originally on, actually, this is a really good point. We bought this property. Yeah, I think it was 430, which is super duper low. And the agent was like, hey, we'll sell you the property with the tenants in place. And then I'm like, great. Well, we need to see the rental ledger. And you always should ask to see the rental ledger anyway, especially in Victoria. They constantly stopped paying their bills. So they didn't pay their rent on time and they were constantly late. So we're like, hell no, we don't want to take this property on with this tenant. We need the property at vacant possession. So the rent was $430. I think we'll get about $520 a week in rent on it now. If it was like nice, like if it was what it was but cleaned up a little bit, you could probably get like $470 for it if it was a 3-bed 2-bath. But yeah, doing this renovation has cleaned it up, made it fresh, made it new. So we'll get about $520 a week in rent on that.
There we go. Should we before we share some examples where live deals, live examples, so stay tuned, should we throw to our second sponsor and then come back and jump into some Q&A? We're already almost at an hour ago, so let's do it. I'm gonna get a cup of tea as well.
Everywhere you look, someone else is making money in property except for you. Your mate, he just bought a house. It's already gone up $100,000. There's some bloke on Facebook, he's bragging about pulling in a 7% rental yield. Meanwhile, you're stuck scrolling real estate and domain, confused as hell and having no idea about where to start. Or maybe you're that mate that's got $100,000 in equity. You have a few properties under your belt, but you feel stuck. You're unsure about how to scale without over-leveraging and not knowing what the next right move is. So why does it feel like everyone else has some kind of secret that you're missing out on? It's because they do. There's a reason some people keep stacking properties while others sit on the sidelines stacking excuses. There's a reason why some investors buy under market value while others pay too much. There's a reason why investors know the hot spots before there's any heat. And there's a reason that some people build $150,000 in passive income while others just spend years thinking about it. And it comes down to knowledge. And that's exactly why Jef Miles and I, Joe Tucker, created the Level Up Property course to hand you the exact step-by-step process that we've used to buy over $100 million worth of property in today's market. We've built Australia's largest property investment community with over 80,000 members, and we help everyday investors secure hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity, all without wasting years of their life trying to figure it out the hard way. Making an uneducated decision on the biggest purchase in your life is just gambling with your future.
Stop it. Get some help.
And this isn't just another how to buy property course. Let's be clear though, this course isn't free. What? And neither should it be. This is our life's work. We've spent over 100 hours each on this course alone. Oh, babe. Okay, video number 3. Number 4 with million does... Fuck. Done. We've got decades of experience, millions of dollars in deals distilled into a repeatable process that you can take away for yourself. If you're looking for free advice, there's plenty of noise out there. You can go and find that if you'd like. But if you want real, actionable, step-by-step guided process that works in today's market, then this investment is going to change everything for you. By the time that you finish this course, you will have full confidence. You'll have every tool that you need to build an amazing portfolio if you act on it, right? Which is why we have mentoring built in. So we kick you up the butt to make sure that you're kicking your goals. So the real question is, how much longer are you going to watch everyone else making money in property before you jump in and start playing the property game properly? Because the sooner you start, the sooner you start winning.
We're back. No cup of tea, unfortunately. But anyway, that's fine. It's interesting. So Chrissy asks, I love that people are asking the technical questions. Get these in and we'll answer as many as we can. because we may sort of be at the hour 15. I maybe wanted to. How's the footy going anyway, by the way, people? What parts of the reno can you claim as tax deductions on? So first off, we're not accountants, and we can't necessarily, or nor quantity surveyors, but it has to be based on what is a repair versus a replacement. So I don't. Did you kind of investigate? I could have a crack and guess at what is going to be tax deductible. So we haven't run the first tax. Yeah.
Well, no. Well, what we'll do is we'll get Mike Mortlock. We actually have him on next week, I think.
Yeah, here we go. He's talking about Victoria next week as well. So subscribe to this.
Well, okay. Well, maybe we'll have a chat with him after this, and try and tee up the renovation. I'll list out all of the renovation stuff that's happened, and then his view on that. So that might be really valuable, because some things you can write off as an instant asset write-off over. Anyway, let's just let him do that. That's his game. But you can write it off straight away over 1 year, and then there's other things that need to be like depreciated over 8 years or 10 years and 20 years and all of that good stuff. So yes, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Yeah. What I'll take note on that to flick him an email. What I wanted to say as well is, if there's questions about how this actually gets at 150K, like what kind of, let us know the question around that, because I suppose we want to deliver what's on the tin. So I love that there's all these, but I'll put a question up now, which is not related to that. I think you've already done that, Joe. Somebody said, I would probably contract one builder to renovate the whole lot rather than have separate trades. Probably not, because I don't know. It's very rare to have a plumber that's a good sparky, for example. Like, unless you can, I suppose, get an overall project managing company. Like, I don't know. Have you ever gotten a project manager there, Joe?
So that's what our third quote was. This guy, he has a lot of good connections to people. Yeah. And what he did is he ran off and went to all his mates, which is essentially, hey, mate, I've got a question here. How much would you charge for a new bathroom? Oh, you have 25 grand. Great, cool. Let's do that. So that's kind of what we did. It just comes down to the cost of it. So you might be able to get it cheaper because they've got friends in the industry and they can do that. I like just going through one person, because as soon as you start having 5, 10 people, it becomes a real nightmare. Now, some property managers are okay with doing renovations. Some are not. So you need to check with your property manager when you're doing the investigation phase of researching an area. So you're going to go and research an area. You want to chat with property managers and say, hey, Mr. Property Manager, 1, will you do some inspections for me? And 2, how do you handle renovations? Can you help me renovate a property? Because I need your help. Have you got good access to trades? To be honest, I don't do that. That's not my game. Thanks, Mr. Property Manager. You're not the fit for me. Have a great day. And some agents will be like, mate, I love renovations. It's the thing that really gets me jazzed up. I'm happy to help on any reno projects that you've got. Great. You're my guy. You're my gal. Essentially the answer is that it depends. So some situations, this situation, we've got one guy doing everything except for the electrical. And then we're paying another electrical bill for downlights with full switch upgrades and whatever else. Hope that answers the question.
Definitely does. So there's a whole bunch of technical questions. So keep throwing them through, because we'll get to. As long as Joy's voice holds out. But let's throw to. I've picked a couple of examples. I know there's. I don't want to. So what's the maximum time? There you go. I've already added that one. But here we go. Here's one that isn't going to work quite so well. So here's one that I prepared earlier. So this is not the one.
This is a deal. Oh, it's literally on market right now. Can you zoom? Can you make it big screen?
Yeah. I'll make it big. Zoom in. It's too big. Yeah, make it big screen. So for those, we'll do our best to describe for those looking at home. So this is literally a deal that is on market. It's going to auction in a couple of weeks. So as you can see, this is a tired, and this is free Bedford Court for those hoppers crossing. So yeah, I won't talk too much about hoppers because too much competition already there. But for this deal, this is a renovation, and I'm interested in your view on this, show. My view is that you shouldn't convert it from a 3 to a 4 bedroom. So those playing along at home, let us know your thoughts. I think it doesn't work functionally, and this is an image that I put up. So And I haven't.
Okay.
So
Well,
this,
so far we've just seen the front. So we've got image one.
yeah,
Show us the goods. Oh,
yeah.
okay. So
I just want to say,
it
because the
needs new
reason why I want to show
carpet.
you this, there's opportunity. It's going to need carpet paint. Kitchen is ugly. This is like this is where some people may convert this. I personally wouldn't convert it. But I'll show you the floor plan anyway. So the floor plan to describe for those at home, and we'll zoom in on that. So that's the little the part that's got the timber panels, the family room. The reason why I wouldn't convert that to it, that's the only, unless somebody else sees an opportunity. Dining and lounge, there's not enough space there to add it. I mean, I don't think you should. This is an example where some people may try and convert it. I personally would definitely not convert this one.
So the question I have is so this is an auction campaign, right? So they've got it on there for 610 to 650 or something?
620. 580,
620. So they're aiming for that 620 to 630, 40 mark, right? Keep going through the photos, Jeff. Let's go through it properly. So it's a 3-bed, 1 bath. Yeah, you're going to need to spend some real money on there.
And is this room out the back approved as well? That's the other. I mean, it's probably not. It's probably, but which I mean is not too not necessarily a major concern.
That would be a concern for me. I would want it to make sure that this is approved because it is an addition. That's fiber.
Somebody could ask you to tear that down.
Yeah.
And the risk is if you're tearing that down, that's costing you 10 to 15, 20,000, whatever it is. And you just, But I just wanted to point this out because I'm sure some people would try and convert that into a 4th bedroom. And I think that would be a grave mistake. And because this is what the 4th bedroom you try, it's straight flush off the back of the kitchen. So to get into a bedroom, I can't see any way you could make this work. But I just thought I'd throw it out there and just say, look, be really careful when you try to.
The numbers don't stack though. And also one thing, this paneling stuff is really, really annoying because you have to fully replace.
Esther, we had her on, and her husband. Remember, that was all over on the even on the ceiling as well.
Right.
He literally was spending time doing he was able to do that cheaply, but this is not going to be cheap to do this. But the other reason
this is a renovation. I mean, the price doesn't stack, and the reno there's a lot of work that you need. Carpets. The carpets are going to be a couple of grand, and then you've got to paint, which is going to be 12 grand.
20 to 25.
Why would you not just buy? Why would you not just buy a set and forget in this area at 620? I don't know how they're getting. They probably won't get 620. Well, or they might. It's going crazy at the moment down there.
Yeah, but that's where I would say if somebody was offering me this at 500, 520, if they were really desperate to sell, I'd probably snap it up. So. It's a bit cheeky. So that's where I'd see value for. No, I know, but no, necessarily going to work. It's then you're exiting out the property. Yes, you can go through there as well, but then you have to go out there to get out to the pergola. One of the ways, so it just isn't really all that functional.
This is not a deal. This is not a great deal for renovation.
This is no deal.
Sorry,
I deliberately pointed this out. Pointing to one that does work, which this is far too much for Rockingham, full transparency. So I'm assuming you've done your numbers and you know that this is going to stack up. This is, because this is closer to the marina and all that. Closer. This is a highly sort of sought after pocket of Rockingham. But anyway, let's have a look at where you see if this could work, people watching at home. So we've got.
Okay. So you're taking this on as a renovation project. Well, the price is ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous, but it's a lot of
That's not why I'm showing. I'm showing this for a conversion. Right. Yeah, make that
for a
very
conversion
clear.
deal. Okay.
Yes, and it's not even a renovation. Yeah, I could have. Yeah. So this is already renovated.
Show us the pictures of the inside. Show us the pictures of the inside.
I will show you the room that I would turn into the 4th bedroom, which is the family when it comes up. And I'm impressed. WA, you've started to put a lot more floor plans. It looks like.
That's actually a great point. 2 years ago, you would never have seen a floor plan.
So I already went through it. So it's off the back here. This is the room. I believe that is the extra. That's this room here, the family room. So you've already got this huge kind of open plan dining and you've also got dining and kitchen. So you are sacrificing some for the family, because the family essentially is the living room. So I don't know if this necessarily stacks up. I don't know if you can convert that, even if the price is right. So yeah, I mean, technically you could put the TV there, but I don't know if this actually stacks. Converting into a 4th bedroom, I don't think it does. So there we go.
Oh, from a numbers perspective or from a physical?
From a numbers, it definitely doesn't. But let's say from a logistical, from a floor plan, because where are you putting the TV? You're putting it over here, like then you're stacking. Yeah, so it doesn't really. You could, but then you're making it into a property that doesn't flow. Like where's the living room?
Yeah.
There we go. Another one.
Okay.
But this one definitely works. I wasn't going to use this one, but because
this is a maybe. You look at that floor plan, you're like, oh, maybe, but not really. It's not great. Okay, cool. So now we've got okay, can you show us what the house looks like? Show us what the house.
Yeah, because you've got the dining, you've got the lounge, so this definitely works. And this one, like you're looking at that, like if you'd have to nab it at 620, 630. The house is quite nice, so I think this is going to go for mid to high sixes at least. So this is that room. Floors. Yeah, it's quite nice. This is the room I would arguably turn into the fourth bedroom quite comfortably. It's already 3x2, so that's let's have a look. It's a really nice property actually, but you'd have to really crunch the numbers on that one. But this one, there is functionality, and you've still got the extra. I'd turn the lounge easily and just use this as a lounge. Like, look at that, like huge family room out the back. Like, mate, this is absolutely asking for. Have you got? Yeah, you've even got your nice window, mate. This is a bedroom every day of the week. Is that? I'd turn that into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
too easy.
Turn that bad boy into a bedroom. Too easy.
So there we go.
I mean, I would probably turn that front room into a bedroom. Actually, is that what you're saying, or would you turn that family room?
The lounge.
I turn the living into a bedroom. Yeah. Oh, the lounge.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Lounge. Yeah, I wouldn't turn the family. Because then the X is out the back.
No, it's too big, and it also has nice views outside. Like you want it light and airy in there.
So, guys, I hope you found that useful, because me actually looking at this shows how many deals I look through probably about 100 deals to find just those 3, and one was borderline. I don't think the WA one I would. The first one we looked at in Hoppers, I definitely wouldn't. And the third one is yes, very clearly. The challenge you're going to face is the numbers aren't going to stack. Like you saw, we were buying for Oz property. We bought that one for 540 for 550. 540.
530
and 530. Yeah, after negotiations, and then you're then getting and then getting to the stage where if you need to pay, so that was a free. That had a second bathroom already. It was a 3x2, wasn't it? Isn't it, Joe?
3x2. Yeah. But we renovated the main bathroom.
You're paying potentially at least another 100,000 for this deal. So that's why it's so hard to find. And yes, it's a much nicer property. It's also closer up to Tarneet, so I would be a little just cautious of how close. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Tarneet. It's just more around the potential supply up that way. I would be a little cautious about. But that's been a quick masterclass on looking for those deals.
Yes. I feel like we went from like renovation to just room additions. And why was that? Because renovations used to, the challenge we have is cost blowouts. Like I think paint is probably the best way to look at it. So just let me know if this cuts out. So this is a little cheat sheet that you guys can use for renovation. So you can go out there and make a decision on if you want to renovate or not. You kind of need to turn it into an Excel spreadsheet so you can then calculate it. But essentially adding a bedroom, it gives you the best impact score and only costs you about 1% of budget. So about $6,000. Kitchen, a full overhaul will give you a big boost in value. An eight in value, and it'll cost you 3 times as much as a room ad, but it's good. Same with bathrooms, right? About $15,000, 3% impact score 7. That needs to be 18. Interior paint, $12,000. This used to be like $7,000, $8,000. So trade prices are really jumping up there, and every single cost adds to your profit. It eats into your profit margin. So when this was $8,000, painting a house is absolutely fine. Doing flooring for $1,500, $2,000 was fine, but it's now $3,000, $3,000, $4,000. So it's very hard to do these massive full-scale renovations. So for me, the goal is sometimes like what we've done is, well, I guess we did do a big large renovation, but we bought it incredibly cheap. So we bought it for $530,000 and we had to spend money on it. Now, the fact that a property 9 doors up the road, which is a 4x2, I'd love you to show you the pictures, but then that gives away the location, and I don't want any more
somewhere in Western Melbourne.
West Melbourne. Melbourne. Yes. So four of them are in Victoria now. And then one is in Townsville. So yeah, sorry. What was my point in saying that? Yes, you're going to get, renovations used to be this amazing thing where you could really, really push hard. But as the areas get more popular, exactly like what Jef just showed there, the renovation starts to compress. People will pay for an ugly duckling more than what they would from a return. In a slower, softer market, there is a much bigger disparity. Why would I buy this thing if I need to spend $50,000 to renovate it? Whereas when it gets hot, people are like, oh shit, I'm going to have to buy this thing, spend $50 on it, but still it kind of stacks up, and then you'll only get, $1 to $1.20 back. So our deal, we'll get about $1.69. We'll put $1 in and we'll get about $1.69 back. Once it goes to $7.20, then we're fine, but it's not,
yeah.
It's technically not valued at $7.20 just yet.
The other challenge is, particularly if you need to get, if for whatever reason there needs to be a full evaluation that's sort of done on it. And the difference is, so just to talk through this, a desktop valuation is literally where it's punching numbers into the computer and it bases it off the median to that particular asset type and area. So 4x2. If you can snag one of those through a favorable lender who matches your borrowing requirements, then fantastic. It's where you start to go into what they call either a curbside. Curbside's probably okay, where they literally just do some numbers from their car. The challenge will be where you go for a full valuation, where they literally inspect the property and they say, hang on a minute, that property down the road, yes, it's a 4x2. They've got an extra they've got X amount of features added onto it. You're not quite, and you might still be able to go okay, but that's where I see value in doing a full reno when you're looking to sell potentially. And you need to understand from a real estate agent if you are actually going to get it back, because doing a full renovation purely when you're going to keep it, it may not stack. So that's where, so you got to match the purpose for what you're looking to do with your property portfolio.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, you can, spot on. You also need to, what are your thoughts on flipping in this day and age, Jef, when it comes to buying a property?
Definitely still works. Yeah. You just have to, I see people flip all the time, but the challenge is that you have to be patient. Like the moment you have to look at, instead of looking at 100 deals, because the longer you hold, the more forgiving it is. If you're looking at 100 deals and buying that 99th deal you're looking at, and these are just numbers, I'm not just throwing this out there, you probably have to look at 500 to 1,000 deals before you start to get one that may stack. So it's just harder to find because of the costs involved. There's potentially GST involved. There's potentially how you're funding that as well. So if you can fund it via a lender and a broker's happy to take that on, you're going to have to probably pay them brokerage. Or you could do it once with them and they're going to burn that relationship. So because if you're selling it, so you just need to be a lot more calculating today to do a flip. It can still work, but you just have to be really calculating and really disciplined with that buy price. If you don't buy well, you'll be lucky to make any money after you paid taxes as well.
Okay, well let's jump to questions and comments. Anyone that has any questions, throw them in. We're going to wrap up pretty soon. There's a great question that's come up here.
Juicy one.
juicy one. Would you be able to build to $150,000 in passive income if you had a high capital, but low serviceability? Talking $60,000 with 2 kids low, but virtually $1 million in cash to buy anything, or is it too hard to do? What do you reckon, Jeff?
So from my broking experience, it's an understanding now trust. You'd have to understand what other debt was around. If you had, because even with where there's more creative lending, you still need to be able to show some serviceability for that initial trust purchase. And that's kind of what if with this type of scenario, there's a couple of ways you could go about it, I suppose. You could go down, if you didn't have too much, and this is not specifically a situation, not financial advice, speak to your broker, accountant, all that jazz. But if you did, let's assume you had no other debt, I'd say you probably could. You just have to be really disciplined in terms of, not disciplined, but you'd have to probably play in the 400 to 500K asset range. And I think you'd struggle doing this in Melbourne, for example, where the yields are a bit lower and the purchase prices. So you'd have to do it playing at that 400 to 500K, which if you bought in the trust scenario to preserve that borrowing capacity, yeah, you could do it. And then you'd have to stump up that 20% plus deposit. And then you just continue to buy in the trust. But just mindful that you need to have buffers in place. That if anything, I wouldn't be going out and spending that $1 million. I would probably keep, I'm very conservative, so I'd keep a couple $100,000 just as a buffer to make sure that depending on what your lifestyle and expenses are. So possible, yes, but you just need to figure out what time frame as well. Like the easiest way to do this would be, not go and get a job, but go and get an income that maybe is but 60K is a decent income. But that 80 to 90 starts to make that a lot more achievable as well.
Yeah.
So achievable
is like another thing is like partner as well. When you partner up with people, it does open up a lot of borrowing capacity as well.
So many exciting things you can do. Yeah.
Like even just doing the math on, if you buy a $1 million asset that's returning a 6% yield, that's $60,000 a year. So you're not too far off that you're not too close to the book, that target, but yeah, it would take some creative financing around to be able to get it to build the portfolio. And then the other thing that I would be looking into as well is exploring. If this was me and I had $1 million cash, I would be looking into the development space as well so you're going to go down to keep compounding that nest egg, because you could then buy a subdivision site for $650,000 and then split it and subdivide it, have your negative cash flow getting eaten away. So have, $100,000 for the negative cash flow buffer, and then, sell it, make 100, 200 grand, 300 grand, and then just keep flipping and cycling it that way.
The world essentially is your oyster, I suppose. Yeah. Because you could then go down the path of you wouldn't necessarily even need to have the you could go a private sort of lending scenario, and you could just become a full-time potential developer, that if you mastered that development space with that sort of capital, yes, you could be able to sort of be buying properties at that sort of $800 to $900 to $1 million with your 40%, and yes, there's risk in that as well. So I just wanted to point that out. That's not a bad way of thinking about it. A bit more creative, or even commercial, which does not having built-in walking wardrobes in a bedroom change value of the house? Not really. You might get a little bit more rent for it. As an investor, maybe an emotional owner occupier might pay a touch more. It's kind of important. It's like the example of Jeremy last week with the new roof. You're not paying more for the new roof if there's a new roof compared to a comparable asset. But if it doesn't have it, like wardrobes are almost vital, or some sort of space to put clothes. I think for anybody with a family, like I suppose you could put a chest of drawers, but walk-in wardrobes are very handy. Would I pay more for them? Probably not really, no.
Built-in robes, right? Not like, Yeah, I would say it's more of a function of, oh, great, you're going to get someone that's at $500 a week, or you're going to get someone that doesn't really like maybe a lesser quality tenant that's willing to accept not having walking robes. So yeah, it does become a balance of that. If you're just holding it, if you're like, oh my gosh, I need to spend $10,000 to have robes, say, hey, don't spend so much money. Just do like a little cheap one where they're on the wall. That's worthwhile. That's worthwhile doing when it doesn't cost that much.
This is said a bit tongue in cheek. Boys, footy's on. Stop talking to yourselves. Well, yeah, you said it with a bit of a kiss there as well. But George, we've got like 70 people watching. But no, what is the score, George? Let me know, man. I'm not googling it because I was
Couldn't
getting
care
too
less
distracted.
about football. So
I know you don't
I'd
care, but I
much
do.
rather-
Yeah, it's a state of
So
origin,
the people
man. Like,
on
yeah.
the people,
New South Wales, Queensland.
are choosing not to talk about football.
Go.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
cool. So great question that's come up here. Are you converting a 3-1-1 into a 4-1-1? Good from your experience, or better to try for a 4-2-2? Oh, that is a juicy one. What are your thoughts,
Definitely
Jeff?
the latter. Definitely the latter. Like,
Yes.
I mean, if you
Okay.
can, because
Yeah.
you're not always going to be able to. Because the problem with us
Yeah.
doing this content, is now that we're sort of letting a little bit of the cat out of the bag, because people will start looking for this stuff now. It's kind of like when they started
man,
talking about those.
Stupid.
Sorry. Go.
Yeah, it's stupid. Like we do all these things. We tell people, oh my gosh, you need to go out there and do it. And then they go out there and do it. And then they soak up all the deals that have these things that is the arbitrage for us. And then we've got to get new arbitrage. So is there still an opportunity here? Absolutely. One thing to mention is as well on that 3-bed to 4, like make it a 3-bed one to a 4-bed one is that it's also hard to value a 4x1 as opposed to a 4x2. So yeah, it's challenging. Like the deal that Jeff and I for the Oz property portfolio we just bought is a 4x1. And it's definitely less desirable than the 4x2s. But we can convert a laundry into a 4x2 for $30,000. So we can spend $30,000. Does it make sense right now? Absolutely not. We're not going to do it. But you can eventually turn it from. Yeah. And the first deal that we did, the one that we were talking about, was a 3x2. So I would prefer every day of the week to get that extra bedroom, the extra bathroom, because it gives you, like, it costs 30, 50 grand to make one. And if it comes already, yeah, it's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Plus the space, livability.
I haven't come across Matty Brand, who's an avid listener and avid property buyer. He said, does reducing, and it's got a lot of value, does reducing a 6-bed 2-bath to a 5-bed 3-bath to gain a master with its own bath and toilet reduce value? I think that's an asset that you're almost playing in too unique an asset, Matthew, unless you're kind of, to me, I wouldn't even know how you go about valuing that. You're running a bit of a gauntlet there in terms of what that ends up looking like, because and that's where looking at domain suburb profiles is going to tell you probably. We weren't going to talk about that, but I just talked about it.
Yeah, I guess it just comes like, it's too much. It's too there's not enough of those products around. I imagine in that area. Is this, and this might be something he's built recently. It's funny, Matt. This is the funny thing actually. About 2 years ago, they didn't notice that he had a 3-bed, and it turns out it was a 4-bed. See, that was the beauty of WA back in the day. Got a really, you can find deals that don't have a floor plan, and then turns out they are actually a 4-bed property. So Matty Brand picked up a absolute killer property and converted it from a 3-bed to a 4-bed without spending any money whatsoever, because the agent was a silly bugger.
So many questions. Yeah. People are loving. Are you factoring stamps into your quoted
stamp duties?
Cost?
Buy cost?
No. Yeah.
Why are we not doing
so that's
that,
on
Jeff?
top. So you're probably looking, I don't know, let's say about 25 to 30 grand for a 500, 600K asset, roughly in Victoria, approximately 25, 30. That's probably a bit overs. But yeah, around that sort of price for stamps.
Yeah. So when we talk about the numbers, it's we're not selling it. So if we're flipping this deal, if we're buying it for 530, putting in 70, spending 30 in stamp duties, 2,000 for legal fees, then we've got a 1.8% agent fee, and then we've got legals again. There's no money in the deal. So this is why the flipping scenario doesn't make any sense, because you've got to factor in all of those costs. When we go ahead and buy the property, we buy it for 430, and then we have equity of $120,000. The bank doesn't care that we spent $30,000 on stamp duty, so we can then pull $100,000 out of equity. So for us, the two questions, the question of should you sell and should you or keep, well, selling gives you about 40,000, let's just say $40,000 worth of value, but in reality, you can withdraw $100,000 worth of equity. Well, the goal, what is the goal? Is the goal to pay down debt? Well, then yes, you should take your 40 grand, chuck out the debt, because you're done. Like you're done with the game. Just keep doing 40 of these do these 40 grand deals. How many of them? You do 10 of them, you've knocked off a $400,000 loan, and then you're debt free, right? And then you're living your best life. But if you're in the accumulation phase, then you need to take the equity and then re-leverage that and go again.
That's where the strategy is so important. Yeah, no, I mean that's where strategy is so important, and being clear on the ultimate wealth goal. Like, when do you want to get to that? If it's 15 years, like selling off. If you bought an absolute gun asset and you've got the equity there, typically, and as I said, just speak to your broker accountant, roll that likely into the next deal, so that way you can keep compounding, like keep growing the base, and then by the time you get to that stage, in 10 years' time, you're actually like, crap, my base now is probably likely doubled. So you've got a much bigger asset to then sell down to create the cash flow. This will probably be the last question, because I said, Joe, bloody hell, we always go longer than what I thought.
Yeah.
I can't bring that up. It's in which should we add, here we go, it's up now. In which case should we add a bedroom? Does it always add value? Answer to that is no. I mean, well, I suppose technically, yes, it would add value, but is it worth it is kind of what you need to be asking yourself. Then it comes down to, well, should you be buying the deal in the first place? Like, you need to, if you've already, you need to do that feasibility before you even buy the deal, based on what price you need to buy the deal for. Because if you're paying a 4-bedroom price for a 3-bedroom property, then you basically, there's no profit, there's no uplift there. So that's where it doesn't add value. That's where you shouldn't be doing the bedroom. You should just not probably be buying the property.
Yeah, it's a great point. And actually, something we should have mentioned earlier on is that when you're doing these, these deals, like when you're doing a renovation deal, you want to be kind of buying in, like the median value for the areas in our examples, 590, and we're buying a property for 530. So that allows the market to pull our property up. So if you're in a 590 market and you're buying a 670 property, your property is dragging up the market. So, hello. So your property is dragging up the market and it's not being pulled up by it. So instead of you doing that, you should go after a deal that's on the lower scale so that you get dragged up, rather than pushing other people's properties higher and further up. So that's why you wouldn't want to, be doing that. Welcome back, Jeff.
Yeah. I hit the wrong
what was the other point that I wanted to make? Oh, the other point that I wanted to make on that was, if there's the disparity between a 3-bed and a 4-bed is like $5,000, then no, there's no point. It's not really going to move the needle too much. So if people don't value that in the area, and then tenant wise, tenants love, that extra living room. It's 100% worth it. You're going to lose money while doing this extra bedroom. Never ever heard a property manager say that, but every area is different, so it's worthwhile checking in.
Yeah, this has been it's been a great session. What I want to say as we start to wrap up, guys, we're nearly at, I think we're getting close to almost 50 on Spotify now. It is starting to really ramp up. Yeah, since I've started. So thank you everyone for jumping on that. So if you've gotten value from how to build that your own 150K passive income portfolio through renovation, and if somebody else is going to add value to their life, send it on to somebody else, and make sure you leave us that 5-star. We love those 5 stars. So jump on there and on Spotify or your favorite platform and jump on that, Joe. So before we close off, is there anything you wanted to finish off that we didn't cover off, Joe? Any last things?
No, go out there and renovate. Go look for some 3 beds to 4 beds. It's a nice way to boost the rental income. It's a nice way to boost the value, and it's a quick and easy renovation to get you rocking and rolling. Just please don't do it in any of the markets that I'm buying, so that I don't have to deal with that. But don't overpay as well. Don't be silly.
Yeah, I think it's vitally important that if you're not sure, I mean, look, as much as I sort of say on the Facebook group, the Oz Property Investors Facebook group, like you got to go and do your own research. Like if you're really, really unsure, maybe drop it in the group and I can do 1 or 2. I can't do heaps of them because they do take a little bit of time to take a look at. But yeah, drop them there and we can hopefully all learn from. Maybe don't do that because it's creating too much competition. Sorry, Joe, for everyone. But no, I love just abundance. There's so many deals out there for everybody. Maybe Joe doesn't think that, but I do. So let's make it happen.
Yeah,
so, man,
I
Joe,
that.
You do? Awesome. Love it, man. So for people who want more of Joe in their life, I don't know if you want to do this or not. If you just blink a couple of times, how can people get more Joe in their life? What's the best place to find Joe?
It depends what you want. Depends what you want from Joe. If you want us to teach you how to do all of this, we have the levelupproperty.com.au, advanced property course to teach you how to find, negotiate, secure incredible deals while using data and not messing it up. And if you want me to do it, go to propertyprinciples.com.au and I buy the property for you instead of you doing it. And Jef, what about you? You just message
probably
Jef
Level Up.
No,
don't message me. I'm going to start getting back to people. Something is brewing. No, something very soon. It's exciting for Oz Property and Jef. But no. But
it's going to be exciting. Well, I'm excited. Cracking session. We got number 5 on Oz Property. We'll do a bit more of a deep dive on that at some point. So we're closing in on that $150,000 of passive income. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you, Jef.
Let's go renovate and build a 150K passive income portfolio.
Let's go.